This Fringey Life is brought to you by the Vancouver International Fringe Festival and the Arts Report on CITR 101.9 FM. Find them online at citr.ca. For more info on the Fringe, go to vancouverfringe.com.
That's the question that I got asked when I started telling people I thought a guy was Jesus. Like, well, okay, there's some obvious questions coming to mind. Why? And why again? And how come you don't believe it anymore?
That's Barry Smith, talking about his experience of being in a cult in Montana, led by a man claiming to be Jesus Christ. You're listening to This Fringey Life on CITR, and on this episode, we're talking about religion.
That was just a dream. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
Barry got out of the cult and subsequently wrote a play about it called Jesus in Montana, playing at this year's Fringe. Not everyone joins a Christ-fearing cult, but many of us do wrestle with the question of what's out there. What's the meaning of our existence? Is there a God? And whether people are religious or not, many of us from time to time feel like we're closer to something spiritual. But back to Barry. Why do people who are looking for answers to spiritual questions sometimes find themselves inside a cult?
It's an intriguing thing to decide. And I think, and obviously each situation is different because, some Jesuses are more sinister than others. Right? And I think there's people who want to tell you what to do and people who want to be told what to do.
Right.
And eventually these people are always going to meet up. And it's not like you're that all the time. Sometimes your roles switch. And it's not like, I want to be told what to do forever, but sometimes we find ourselves in certain places in life where we just, are looking, there's a little opening.
Yeah.
If there's enough of an opening, there's bound to be a Jesus out there willing to step into it.
Fringe artist Martin Dockery also went in search of Jesus, a story he recounts in The Holy Land Experience. But he wasn't trying to find a living incarnation of Jesus. He just wanted to walk in his footsteps.
So I walked in between, from Nazareth to the Sea of Galilee to a number of other towns, just walking by myself, trying to get in touch with some sort of larger notion of forgiveness and to try and follow in his footsteps, not in a religious way, but in a way that tried to imagine what it would be like to be somebody 2,000 years ago walking through this land, the Holy Land, and try to, understand what is essentially at the base of his message of forgiving people of what they've done wrong and in essence also forgiving myself for this offense that for this girlfriend who I've basically cheated on and who broke up with me. So it's about kind of traveling there and trying to get in touch with something spiritual but nothing religious. Just trying to understand this story insofar as this was supposed to be a man just like any other person.
Wait, let's stop there for a moment. Did you notice how Martin twice made a distinction between religion and spirituality? He wants to be clear. His journey was purely a spiritual one, not something tied to a major religion. It makes me think that religion has accumulated a lot of baggage. Adam Seybold is another Fringe artist exploring the life of a Jesuit priest who was also a paleontologist in the DeChardin project. He's noticed not only a certain stigma around religion, but a lot of polarization too, with people divided into sharp pro- and anti-religion camps.
For me these days, we live in a world where everybody's sort of entrenched in their own ideas, like left and right, faithful atheists. The people on the right are, saying that, the Bible is literally true, and that the universe was created in 7 literal days. And then you have on the other side of that the Richard Dawkins of the world, who are so kind of militant and evangelistic about their atheism, and they say, well, you can't be a person, if you're a person of faith, you're an idiot.
Right.
You're both an idiot, a fool, and you're responsible for a lot of the violence that's been perpetrated in the world and a lot of the ignorance.
Okay, but let's not put words into Martin's mouth. Let's ask him point blank. Why make such a distinction between spiritual and religious when talking about his journey through the Holy Land?
Well, because I myself, I'm not religious, and I don't put much stock in any religions or anything they have to say. To me, it all seems like a long list of superstitions and stories that are myths that are just as true as the Greek myths and the Greek gods and all those. It's all these stories that come in and out of fashion over time. So I've never been so interested in religion. At the same time, though, I'm well aware that I was brought up in a religion, and that it certainly informs our culture and informs who I am, even if I don't choose to believe in it. And so to go back to this land where these stories originated from, it was just a fascinating trip to make in any case. And while not being religious, while not believing in the stories, I certainly I believe that there's energies and there's forces out there that I do not understand and none of us understand, and some underlying undulating vibration that seems to connect us all. And perhaps that's what I mean by spirituality, this connection that brings us all together. And we all come from the same place and are all going to the same place, whatever that is. And that, to me, is something spiritual and something that can be felt in the atmosphere around us.
Martin Dockery, getting us a little closer to that indescribable something that many of us feel. Something bigger than us, and yet uniting. Something awesome. No, not like, whoa, dude, that's awesome, but rather something that inspires awe.
Just the notion, like if you were to sort of catalog the odds of, in this, after the Big Bang, that there would be a place in a galaxy somewhere, in a galaxy far, far away, that in that galaxy on this rock that is perfectly situated in this universe, because, if we were a mile closer to the sun or a mile farther away, our planet would not be able to sustain life. And so the odds of this planet appearing, being hospitable to human life, and that this human life would evolve, this natural life would evolve from monocellular organisms and evolve over millions and billions of years, that is even possible, and that we're standing here having this conversation reflecting on that to me as a faithful person isn't evidence of God, because I don't think that that's why they call it belief. Like, you have to, faith is about believing in something even though you don't have evidence for it. But as a person of faith, I really feel like science reveals a mystery rather than eliminating it.
Oh boy, science and religion, that's a whole nother debate, but it is curious that Adam's faith is not in conflict with the facts of science, but enhanced by the majesty of the natural world. Science brings out in him that spiritual awe that Martin described. Makes me wonder what kind of religion does Adam Seybold belong to?
Well, actually, Adam, I have my own cult. We meet every Saturday, and we've got buttons. It's my wife and I both attend church, not as often as I should. I should say that out loud. But which, if my mother hears this, she'll be troubled by. But we go to a church in the east end of Toronto called the Metropolitan Community Church, MCC. And the mission of the church is, the way it began was it was a church for GLBT people to go in the late 70s. It literally began above a bar on Church Street, and it was a way for people, for queer people who were excluded from all the other churches that they had attended. And so it's this amazing place where people walk in, and it's like there's all sorts of people, gay, straight. There's tons of families, there's tons of kids, and it's this amazing place where again, like I said, a lot of people who felt excluded, like myself, who felt excluded from sort of mainline evangelical religion, they can all come and worship, and it's non-denominational, and it's not about doctrine, it's more about, service and love and the things that I find meaningful about being a person of faith. And so MCC is a real place where you can come and you can believe whatever you believe, and you can kind of leave spiritually fulfilled, which is kind of a really fascinating thing. So that's where for my wife and I, that's where we both go to, to kind of recharge, I guess.
And what about Barry? Where does a person turn after finding and rejecting Jesus in Montana? Maybe they give up the search for faith altogether.
No, I'm not an atheist. I'm between cults at the moment. So I'm accepting pamphlets if anyone wants to pitch me on what they got. I'm looking. I'm pretty dedicated. Although there is a chance that I will leave your cult and then write a comedy about it. So,
You have to accept that risk as a Jesus.
yeah, there will be a contract you'll have to sign for me to be in your cult, but it might be worth it. I'm pretty good at potlucks. I have a really good dish that I bring. So potlucks are a big part of cult life, I've found.
Right.
Pamphlet distribution. For my years of handing out flyers to the lineups and fringe festivals, I'm pretty good at distributing pamphlets.
Right.
I think it would be a good addition to any new cult. So let people know.
I will. For This Fringy Life, I'm Adam Janusz.